In a distant land, a proud young man embarks on a journey that will test his heart and reveal the true meaning of strength, kindness, and humility. What he discovers along the way will change not only his fate, but the fate of an entire city. Once upon a time, in the distant past, a boy named Maatuq was born in a city called Al-Hurriya, the city of freedom. He came into a family of great wealth and status, for his father was the governor of the city, who adored him deeply. Maatuq was his only child, and from the moment of his birth, his beauty captured every heart. His eyes wide and blue, his hair shining like strands of gold. Truly, he was the most beautiful child in all the city. His father ruled with justice and kindness. He treated every citizen with fairness, showing no favoritism, and for that, the people of Al-Hurriya loved their governor and loved little Maatuq even more. As he grew, his charm and good nature made him beloved by all. Every door in the city was open to him. From the townspeople, Maatuq learned a wealth of skills and trades. They taught him everything they knew, certain that one day he would surpass even his father, leading their city to greater prosperity and grace. He had absorbed not only their knowledge, but their goodness, and above all, their love. His childhood passed in peace and affection, until the time came for him to begin his education at the palace. In gratitude to the townspeople for their care, his father hosted a grand celebration that lasted 6 full days, promising that he would raise Maatuq into a wise and strong ruler for the city's future. Al-Hurriya was a place unlike any other. Beside it loomed a towering mountain crowned by the mouth of a massive volcano. For generations, the people had noticed a strange truth. Whenever injustice spread in the city, the volcano would awaken and erupt in fury. And so it became an unbreakable law among rulers and citizens alike. No oppression must ever take root in Al-Hurriya, for when it did, the volcano would bring destruction upon all, sparing neither the just nor the wicked. Thus, the people lived in careful harmony, rulers and ruled alike, ever cautious not to wrong one another or break the bonds of kinship. The city thrived under a strict but noble law, a law that meant life or death. The governor devoted himself entirely to raising his son. Each day, tutors arrived at the palace to teach Maatuq every field of knowledge: languages, chemistry, mathematics, and above all, politics, the art that stood at the summit of wisdom. In the palace's green garden, a horse-riding master awaited him every morning, while on the other side, a great tent housed his wrestling and sword-fighting instructors, training him to be strong, fearless, and resilient. Maatuq's brilliance soon became evident. He mastered his studies with remarkable insight, especially in matters of governance and strategy, a gift that filled his father's heart with boundless pride and joy. Maatuq grew into a young man of remarkable grace and composure. In every sport he excelled, agile, quick, and disciplined. Yet it was his gentleness of speech that set him apart. He never wounded others with his words. always spoke with kindness, and whenever he made a mistake, he corrected it instantly. From his father, he had learned that this was the essence of true leadership, that a ruler of a great city like Al-Hurriya must never be arrogant, reckless, or unjust, but rather wise, strong, and deeply aware of the weight of his actions. Years passed under the watchful eyes of his father, the just governor, and Maatuq continued to grow, learning, absorbing, and perfecting everything useful and noble. The townspeople rejoiced whenever they saw him. His presence filled them with pride. He was handsome, clever, and kind, the very image of a future ruler, destined to be as great as his father, perhaps even greater. By the age of 20, Maatuq had blossomed into a fine young man. It was then time, his father believed, for him to become acquainted with the royal circles of neighboring lands. Soon, Maatuq befriended several young princes from those regions, elegant men of his age who dressed in splendid garments, adorned themselves with silks and jewels, and carried with them the scent of rare perfumes that lingered long after they passed. Maatuq admired their polished appearance and refined manners. Yet he did not realize the vast difference between his upbringing and theirs. His own youth had been spent among ordinary people, humble, compassionate, and eager to learn. The princes, however, had been raised in luxury, sheltered in palaces since childhood, far removed from the struggles of the common folk, whom they viewed with cold disdain. Though Maatuq was their superior in character, wisdom, and kindness, he failed to see it. He believed these princes were somehow greater than he, that to be truly noble, he must learn their ways, their dress, their speech, their manner of the courts. The idea fascinated him. He longed to experience their world for himself. So he went to his father with a request to join the princes on a journey across neighboring kingdoms, to see their palaces, their customs, and their secrets. The governor hesitated, uneasy at heart, yet he never stood in the way of his son's growth. With quiet concern, he said, "My dear son Maatuq, not everything in life is as it appears. Faces, clothes, and words can deceive. Always look deeper. Seek the truth behind what is shown, for no one will reveal it to you but yourself." Maatuq smiled with youthful confidence and replied, "Do not worry, father. I was raised under your roof and by your wisdom. I only wish to explore something new, an experience I've never had before. With your permission, I'll take that journey." His father agreed with a gentle but solemn tone, saying, "As you wish, my son. The experience is yours to live, and so are its consequences, whether good or bad. This is the law of men in this world. May God guide your steps, my son." And so, Maatuq bid farewell to his parents and set out with the young princes on a long journey through the neighboring kingdoms. Yet, sadly, during this adventure, Maatuq became a follower rather than a leader. Whenever the princes did something wrong, he remained silent, believing that because they were princes, whatever they did must be right. These young men were vain and arrogant, their hands too delicate to touch the labors of ordinary people. They indulged in every forbidden pleasure, wine, excess, and vanity, flaunting their power wherever they went. Slowly, Maatuq drifted into their ways, forgetting his father's wise words, forgetting everything he had learned in the city of freedom. He convinced himself to be a true prince, he must live as they did, step for step, deed for deed. A full year passed, and Maatuq had absorbed from them every corrupt habit and spoiled manner. He was no longer the young man his city once knew, no longer humble, kind, or just. When the time came to return home, his father prepared a grand celebration in Al-Hurriya to welcome him. The people gathered with joy, eager to see their beloved Maatuq again. But when he arrived, they froze in disbelief. The light that once shone in his eyes was gone. He walked with his head held high, refusing to look at the townspeople. The same people who had once embraced him as their own son. A heavy silence fell. The crowd stared in shock and sorrow, whispering among themselves, "Is this truly Maatuq, the boy we raised? Can years of goodness vanish in a single moment?" His father, wise and composed, hid his pain behind a calm smile. He invited everyone to a lavish feast to celebrate his son's return. The townspeople ate, thanked him for his generosity, and wished Maatuq success, though their hearts were heavy with disappointment. Out of respect for the governor's kindness, none dared to mention the change they saw in his son. Days turned to a week. Maatuq stayed shut within the palace walls. He did not read, did not train, rarely spoke to his parents. And when he did, his words were shallow and empty, unworthy of the prince he was meant to become. All the while, his father suppressed his anger, watching his son drift further into arrogance, until one day, unable to bear it any longer, he confronted him face to face. "What has become of you, my son? You left us a man of honor, and returned with corrupted manners that this city cannot accept. You have grown proud and turned away from the very people who raised you."
Maatuq's answer struck his father like a blow. "I am a man now," he declared, "and one day I will be a king, so I will do as I please." His father's face darkened. "You mistake the world, my son. The earth accepts only the righteous. If you rule while corrupt, what is hidden may be better for you than what is seen. Now leave my house and do not return for a full week. Go and prove you are a man." Maatuq left, indifferent to his father's words. He went out abusing people, throwing stones as those princes had done. The people, shocked and pained by his behavior, reported him to his father. The governor urged patience and trust in God. He reminded them that Maatuq had been raised among them long before he was the governor's son, and begged them to bear with him. But Maatuq's misdeeds only grew. He began drinking openly in the streets of Al-Hurriya. Then a terrible sign appeared. The city's volcano started to belch smoke and ash, and fear spread like wildfire. People searched for the source of the corruption among them, and they found only Maatuq. They hurried to a wise woman who kept the old books about the volcano, its eruptions, and the corrupt hearts that had provoked it in former times. She knew Maatuq very well. He had once been raised in her home alongside her own children, treated as one of them. Astonished, she asked the crowd, "Did Maatuq commit such deeds? Maatuq, the gentle, the humble?" They answered that he had utterly changed. Though aged and rarely leaving her house, the wise woman would not trust hearsay. Disguised as a beggar, she walked through Al-Hurriya's markets and the places where Maatuq was said to loiter. It did not take long. There he was, lounging by the roadside, drinking and wasting away. She approached him and spoke softly. "My son, I am old and in need. Will you give me a little money or some food to sustain me? I see goodness in you." Maatuq laughed. "Ha ha ha ha! Old woman, sit in your house. This market is not for beggars." "How am I to live if I remain home?" "I do not care. Go away." "But you show signs of rank and wealth. How can you drive me out after God has favored you?" "I am of noble blood. Who are you to ask of king's children? Be gone, or I will strike you, old woman." The woman turned away without answering, her silence heavier than any reply.
The wise woman decided to be patient with Maatuq, trusting that goodness still lingered within him. She knew his father had expelled him from the palace to correct his ways, and she took it upon herself to guide him back to virtue, both as a tribute to the governor's wisdom and to the people of Al-Hurriya, and to prevent the volcano from erupting and destroying the city, sparing neither the righteous nor the wicked. The next day, disguised as before, she went to the market to find Maatuq in the same place, leaning on his hand, sprawled on the ground, drinking. She approached and spoke to him softly. "Young man, my throat is parched with thirst, and my legs can hardly bear me. Will you give water to an old woman as you would to your mother?" Maatuq sneered. "You again, woman? Haven't you learned? I am the son of kings. Why should I rise to bring water for an old woman of the common folk?" The wise woman responded calmly yet firmly. "Are not kings, my son, meant to serve the people? Who gave you authority then, if not God? Without his choice, would you even be a prince?" Rage flared in Maatuq, his face reddening. He rose to his feet, shaking off the effects of the wine, and spat words of anger at her. "Do not speak to me of God's gifts, old woman. You envy the blessings God has given me and my father. You do not know me, foolish woman." He lunged at her, shoving her violently to the ground. She fell painfully, yet no one dared intervene, for they all recognized Maatuq as the governor's son. The woman rose slowly, without uttering a word, and walked away. On the third day, she returned carrying a large jar containing some dry scraps of bread. Seeing her, Maatuq seized a large stone and hurled it at the jar with all his strength. Half of it shattered, sending the bread crashing to the ground. The market crowd gathered, collected the fallen pieces, and returned them to her jar. She turned to Maatuq, anger blazing in her eyes. "You wretched boy, you have let God's blessing fall to the ground and ignored it. Now you will gather it yourself, so that you may learn that God's blessings, like the people under your care, must never be squandered." Maatuq paid no heed to her words. Yet after this act, he could not bring a single piece of food to his mouth. Days passed, 1, 2, 3, and he could not eat. A strange force seemed to hold his mouth shut, preventing him from consuming anything. He weakened and wasted away, until the people of the city carried him to his father, who feared his son would die. Upon learning what had transpired with the wise woman, the governor immediately sent for her. She hurried to his side, and when she arrived, he pleaded her to heal his son. She looked at him gravely and said, "Governor, you are wise and beloved, and I wish to consult you on a matter." "And what matter is that?"
The wise woman spoke to the governor with calm authority. "Governor, what use is it to treat the mouth when the heart is diseased?" The governor understood her meaning immediately. "Then what is the solution, wise woman?" he asked. She replied, "I have long been preoccupied with governing, my lord, but leave Maatuq to me. I will do what is necessary." The governor nodded. "You are right, wise one. He is like a son to me. Do with him as you see fit." She handed him the broken jar and instructed, "Maatuq must carry this jar to the north and perform acts of goodness for the people. He must not return until the jar is fully restored. The dry scraps of bread within it will be his only food along the way." The governor hesitated. "Is it really possible for a broken jar to be mended?" The wise woman smiled knowingly. "Yes, if the work is done well, it will return to its original form. Just as good deeds can heal the brokenness caused by wrongdoers." She left the jar with the governor and requested that Maatuq be given a single scrap of bread to start. "He must first agree to leave before I grant him this blessing," she said. Finally, Maatuq consented. A dry scrap of bread flew from the jar into his mouth without his hands touching it. Stunned, he felt as though a hammer had struck his mind, a powerful reminder that something in his behavior was deeply wrong. The next day, Maatuq took the broken jar and set out northward. His father reminded him to perform only acts of kindness and goodness.
But Maatuq still carried traces of pride and arrogance, and he paid little heed to the warning. He traveled 2 days, hunger and thirst pressing on him, until he came across a small stray kitten attempting to drink from water atop a high rock. Gently, he lifted the kitten to the stone so it could drink its fill, then lowered it back to the ground. Exhausted, he sat down, and to his surprise, a chilled cup of water appeared in his hands from nowhere. He drank and was refreshed. Then a scrap of bread flew from the jar directly into his mouth, again without touching it. Maatuq realized doing good fed him from the jar. He resolved to continue performing good deeds along his journey, though pride still lingered in his heart. As he traveled north, he encountered a massive mountain blocking the path. He knew he must climb it, and the ascent proved arduous, taking him 3 long days. At the summit, he discovered houses unlike any he had ever seen. Wooden structures elevated above the ground with no supporting pillars. Maatuq stood in awe, yet fatigue overwhelmed him. He climbed a nearby tree and leapt onto one of the strange houses. Inside, he found nothing but a large bed suspended in the air. No food, no drink, no cooking tools. Puzzled, he chose to rest and lay down on the enormous suspended bed. As he placed his head upon the Maatuq suddenly felt as though someone was beneath him. His blood ran cold, especially when he heard a voice speaking from below. "Is it proper to enter people's homes without permission?" Panic gripped him. He could not utter a single word, as if his tongue had been stitched to the roof of his mouth. Fear surged further when he felt large hands reach up beneath him, lifting him into the air, carrying him out of the house and placing him firmly on the ground between the suspended homes. Voices spoke around him, yet he could see no one. One rough voice demanded, "Who is this intruder?" Another replied, "Do you not know him? It is Maatuq, the arrogant son of the governor of Al-Hurriya." Asked the first, "Where is this city?" "The city whose volcano will soon erupt because of this fool," said the second, pointing at Maatuq. "You fool will bring ruin to your father and your city," the first voice warned. Maatuq stammered, Who are you? Why can I not see you?" The voice replied with an edge of disclaim. "Do you still not recognize us, blind and foolish one? We are the jinn. We could fly anywhere, and we lived in your city when you were spreading goodness there. But now, having arrived proud and arrogant, darkness has spread across your city. We abandoned it because of you." Hearing that they were jinn, Maatuq's heart dropped to the ground. Trembling, he whispered, You are the jinn?" One of them spoke softly, "Yes, we are jinn, but of the righteous kind. We live alongside humans who are good like us. Yet you are the reason we were driven away, arrogant against your own people. Who will save you from us now?" Maatuq remembered the principles of diplomacy and tact he had learned as a child, especially how to deal with a powerful enemy like the jinn. Hesitant but determined, he asked, "First, does any good deed I performed in my youth intercede for me?" The jinn consulted silently among themselves, then spoke as one. "Indeed, a good deed intercedes, but it must be a deed of great goodness, enough to quench the thirst for the good that you have recently withheld from us." Maatuq nodded. "Very well, I will tell you. When I was 7, my father took over my upbringing in the palace. There was an old woman who could barely sustain herself. Each day, I brought her the finest foods of the palace: meat, sweets, fruit. I did this for a long time until God took her from this world." The jinn whispered among themselves silently, deliberating for hours. Finally, one spoke to him. "Listen, Maatuq. The good you did for this old woman is never lost, neither in this world nor the next. We accept your deed of kindness."
Maatuq felt as if his heart had been cooled by a wave of joy. Yet the happiness he felt from having his past good deed recognized far outweighed the relief that the jinn had freed him. A scrap of dry bread flew into his mouth, and a cup of honey appeared in his hands. He drank and praised God for these blessings. Then he noticed something extraordinary. A large portion of the jar had mended itself, though a small part remained broken. He realized that this was the result of the good deeds he had performed long ago, now alive again in his heart. The jinn released his bonds and warned him never to return to harming or offending people, whether by words or actions. They instructed him to return to doing good as he had in his childhood. Maatuq left deeply shaken by his encounter with the jinn. Remorse and reflection filled his mind. How could he help his city quell the volcano? How would he restore himself so that the jar would be fully mended and he could return to a proper life? How could he regain the humility and benevolence that he had lost under the influence of the arrogant princes? Descending the mountain proved far easier than climbing. After a single day, he reached a wide valley. There he found a massive tree, the largest he had ever seen. Exhausted from his journey and still reeling from the encounter with the jinn, he climbed the tree and slept a full day, letting his body recover completely. When he awoke to the sunlight, he leapt from the branches, only to find himself caught in the hands of a colossal giant. Shocked and faint, he realized he was being carried in the giant's pocket to the land of giants not far from the valley.
Maatuq awoke inside a cage made for small creatures, and terror gripped him at the sight of their immense size. Even one giant's finger was larger than his entire body. In that moment, he realized how small and weak he truly was, far from the strongest being on earth. One of the giants approached, lowering his face near Maatuq. "Where are you from, boy?" he demanded. I am from Al-Khuriya." "The city with the erupting volcano? I have seen it. It nearly erupted recently, then calmed partially in the past days." Relief washed over Maatuq. His city might yet be saved. He implored the giant, "I am the son of the governor. Will you release me?" The giant's eyes flared red with anger. "You, the governor's son? The arrogant one who mistreats people? We will never release you. You have endangered your city." Maatuq bowed his head and spoke earnestly. "I was wrong, and God has shown me that. This is why He is giving me lessons to become a righteous man. I will show you a good deed I did in my childhood. Will that earn my release?"
The giant nodded and said firmly, "Yes, but on one condition. You must act on this deed when you return to your homeland. If not, I will come for you and devour you." Maatuq bowed his head, agreeing. "I accept your condition. The deed is this. In my childhood, I would give preference to the poor children of the city. Whenever the palace provided me with luxurious food, I would take it all to the children and sit with them, sharing the meal humbly for the sake of God, without distinction between us." The giant approved of the virtuous act and trusted Maatuq's promise to continue it upon returning to Al-Khuriya. He released Maatuq, who rejoiced at his freedom. The crumbs of bread rose into his lap, and he began eating with heartfelt delight. A cup of yogurt appeared in his hand, and he knew he had returned to a balanced, wholesome state. Looking at the jar, he saw it fully restored, with no cracks remaining. Maatuq realized he was not the strongest of God's creatures. Far from it. Many beings were mightier than him. He understood that pride in wealth, youth, or strength was fleeting. Only humility before God, kindness toward people, and righteous deeds endure. The giants warned him that time was short. The volcano threatened his city. Maatuq hesitated. 5 days stood between him and Al-Khuriya, and the volcano could erupt at any moment. Seeking aid, one giant placed him in a large cloth pocket, giving him a view from above. The giant leapt from peak to peak, swiftly crossing the mountains, and reached Al-Khuriya in less than an hour. The city's people panicked at the sight of the enormous being, and the army prepared to defend the city. But the giant extended Maatuq's hand and lowered him safely to the ground. Relief spread through the crowd, who cheered at Maatuq's return. They hurried to the governor and the wise woman, rejoicing at the visible transformation in him. Maatuq's gaze fell upon the volcano, which belched smoke in anger at the city's misdeeds. The wise woman spoke softly. "My son, is it not time to extinguish the fire with water?" Maatuq shook his head. "How can I, wise woman? I have no water enough to quench this massive volcano." She smiled and replied, "Righteous deeds and virtue extinguish the fire of sins and their hell. Go, my son, and cast the jar of good deeds into the raging volcano. It will subdue it." Maatuq climbed swiftly and threw the jar into the fiery depths. The volcano quieted instantly, the flames dying away completely. He descended to his people, embracing his parents and kissing the hand of the wise woman. Turning to the citizens, he spoke with clarity and conviction. "The good deeds of my childhood have borne fruit within me and aided me in times of hardship. When I became arrogant, distant from God, and neglected acts of kindness, I saw with my own eyes how God can revive the goodness in a heart once filled with darkness and wrongdoing. Good deeds, dear listener, bear fruit when least expected. Always act with kindness, for you may reap its rewards when in dire need. Do not let pride overtake you. Only God possesses true grandeur in the heavens and earth. A person's true strength lies in their deeds, efforts, humility, and benevolence.